So welcome to another edition of Got Gameplay on our YouTube channel. Just a reminder, this is only the video show that we do every week. We put it up on YouTube. We also do a radio show. You can find that on the Sportsnet Radio Network if you are in Ontario, where we are, or just go to the internet, go to iTunes, go to TuneIn. Just look for us. We're called Got Game. Maybe also put in Sportsnet Radio Network. That'll help you out. That'll definitely help you find us. I'm Bryan Calhoun. Christine Chubb is with me. Hey, Christine.
Hello.
Can you actually see?
I'm watching you run. Look at you run.
So this is Mordor, I believe it's the name of the game.
Shadows of Mordor.
This, I forget the exact title of this game. Shadows of Mordor something or other. There's always a subtitle.
Yeah.
But I think Shadow of Mordor is like the main title of this game, which I honestly, we've had opportunities to see this game plenty of times. You know me, Christine, this is not my sort of thing.
It's not your wheelhouse by any means.
No, you are definitely the one who likes the dragons and the orcs. And
I do, but the Lord of the Rings series is, I know this might make me lose a few fans, but the Lord of the Rings series has never been my favorite series. It's a little too orcs and slashy for me, but this game looks really good. Like when we saw it at E3, I skeptically went to go and see it, but I thought, all right, let's check it out. And I only got to see what was the combat system when you assign players when you're doing a battle. So I haven't actually seen any gameplay. This is my first look at it. It looks really pretty. It's very, well, maybe pretty is the incorrect word because it's very dark, but it looks very detailed. Okay, well, knowing E3 as it is, I have to ask a question. Ooh, yeah, we saw that.
You saw this part? This is basically how you gain information. If you find any orc, they can give you at least the identity of one of these people here. This is the army of Sauron that we're looking at right now. And these are various war chiefs. And this list, if you will,
ugly looking sucker right there,
shows exactly who everybody is, what their connection to each other is, because a lot of these guys, a lot of the lower orcs, the ones closest to us, are the bodyguards of the ones further away. And there's, obviously different rows, different levels. All the guys at the bottom are captains, but you have a captain, you have like a veteran captain, you have an elite captain.
Yeah.
And then you get all the way up to the war chiefs, the 5 orcs, if you will, that run the entire army.
That dude's head just came right off.
And the question I was going to ask you was, were you late for your appointment at E3?
No, I was. Well, they just kind of shoved me in because I was there to see The Witcher, and they said, "Well, Mordor is just starting. It's the last one of the day. Go see that." Okay,
so you saw the entire appointment at E3 for this. Yeah, that's the question I asked you.
No, I just saw the display, the video that they had.
Okay, because that makes more sense. Because if they did not show you this Nemesis system, which is stuff that's happening on the screen right now, then I can understand why you would have questions and doubts about this game.
Yeah.
Because this game, it's covered in all this Lords of the Rings stuff.
Yeah.
Does not matter.
Okay.
There's a storyline, does not matter. And to be honest, the storyline isn't that much either. It's just a small thing. What really...
It takes place between Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, right? That's what I think that they had told me.
You are asking the wrong person.
Well, that's what they had told me, is that it's a separate story, but it does take place between that time.
They sent me a whole bunch of paperwork with this, and I'm sure it details all that stuff. I do not care about the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I was actually worried about this game when it came and showed up, and it's like, oh, well, Christine has blah, and Moman is already working on blah. Well, darn, this really should be a Christine game, but I guess I'm stuck with it. I'll have to do it. Okay, fine. Let's go through. And then I started up, I started playing, and it went from begrudgingly doing it to actually being really into this game.
Really? Okay, that's good to hear. Because when I did see the video, I saw that what we were looking at before was the different captains and they were assigning stuff. And I kept thinking that maybe this game is a little more detailed and a little less fun. And you know how sometimes that can happen in a game where it's just, they're all about really making the minutia really interesting to those people who are really into this series, but as a game player, It's not as fun.
I would actually equate this to Destiny, believe it or not.
Really?
A lot of people have been making the references to Assassin's Creed, for example.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Because you can climb, which,
yeah.
whatever. I mean, to be honest, that's not really a thing that Assassin's Creed can basically corner the market on anymore.
I'm looking at the map. It's kind of Assassin's Creedy, but I mean, maps are maps, right?
It's also really weird. It gives you this feeling of being really big, but then you realize, like, it is probably the most accurate description and layout and sort of makeup of an area in a video game, because they say, hey, this thing's like 500 feet away.
Oh.
And then you look at it, and okay, yeah, no, it's like I can see it from here because it really is 500 feet away. It's really close. It looks like a huge map. It's not a giant map, but since you're running around everywhere on foot,
yeah,
it still takes you a good amount of time to get across from one side to the next, especially considering you spend a lot of time sneaking around because you just don't want to fight every guy.
Yeah.
You could,
but it's
just
not
don't
like
want to.
Skyrim big, right? So it's not going to take you like 3 hours to cross the map by foot.
No, it's a very small map. But because you're on foot, it feels like not too small. It does not feel too small for the game that you have.
All right, so tell me what we're doing here. Why are you all blue and everything is all...
So this is not a spoiler because this has actually been in the marketing material for this game, and it actually happens in the very first cutscene.
Okay.
You, as a Ranger of the Black Gate, and I remember we had this conversation, is a Ranger of the Black Gate a good guy or bad guy?
Yes.
Good guy.
Okay.
You're actually defending, like you're patrolling and defending the outside of the Black Gate to make sure Sauron's power does not come back.
Okay.
You and everyone else who's a Ranger of the Black Gate didn't do a really good job. But then the movies happen and you can go into all that.
And then we all know how that turns out.
Anyhow,
hobbits.
The game starts with you getting shanked.
Oh.
And also, not just shanked, but somebody's like saying this evil spell, and it makes you become tied, literally, to Ghost Dude.
Oh,
so
okay.
You have the powers of the Ghost Dude, which is basically the powers of Frodo in the movies when he put on the ring.
I was going to say, is it a part like the Netherrealm type thing where you put on the rings? I don't know.
Yeah, it's
what
exactly
called,
that.
You know what I'm talking about.
You morph into the ghost guy, and then everything becomes sort of all windy and stuff, and it looks like that part where people put on the ring in Lord of the Rings.
Nice.
And you somehow magically just go between one or the other when you need to. There is a button that you can press to actually go back and forth between each of them, but it's only useful in terms of scouting people.
Oh, okay.
It's basically hey, like, look at this, and here's where all the bad guys are.
Ooh.
And I should actually stop for a second and point out, like, this is a major part of the game. Any orc that kills you becomes, like, a war chief. Or not war chief, but captain. So anyone who kills you, they get promoted. And they get promoted by killing you or having duels with other guys. Like, this guy automatically just had a duel with this other dude as soon as he got promoted and took his spot. So it's like, I'm responsible for him now being a captain, which is really cool.
That's really, like, intricate.
Like, that's the part of the game that's really cool. We got the Assassin's Creed stuff out of the way. A lot of people are also making some references to Batman. And I understand that because of combat, taken right out of Batman.
I was going to say, you've been fighting a lot in this video. Let's talk a bit about how the combat is.
It's basically Batman. You do a lot of, you press the button to basically block or parlay or whatever the sword term is. You hit that button, you block their stuff, and then you go on the attack. And you're just basically blocking until you find a way to get in there and start using the stabby parts of your knife.
Okay.
So interesting, but not really the focus of the game. What's the focus of the game is this nemesis system where all these orcs are getting promoted based off of activities that they are doing without you and by themselves. And when they interact with you. I mean, they will, like, have feasts, or they'll go on hunting expeditions, or they'll duel each other. And if you just let them be, well, then they all rank up.
Okay.
But you have the option to go in there and mess with them all and hopefully kill them all and get rid of them all. And if you get rid of all the lower level guys, then you can go take on the war chiefs.
Nice.
And the reason that you're worried about that is because if you just find a war chief and say, hey, you and me now, he's just going to say, here are all my orcling guys, which, by the way, like, they're orcs, but they're not called orcs in the game. But then the main character keeps saying, oh, I can't believe I have to work with these orcs. So apparently they're not orcs, but we're just going to call them orcs, okay?
Fair enough.
So yeah, you can ride up and try and shank all the war chiefs you want, but they're just going to call the captains in if you don't take care of them. Oh. So you're basically running around the fields of... Where is this happening again?
Mordor.
Okay. You're running around the fields of that place, trying to find these low-level guys and dealing with them in order to be able to take on the higher-level guys. And then you're also like, here I'm just walking through this area.
Okay.
And, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of... One of the things I do not really like about this game is that you are constantly having to, like, just deal with people.
Okay, this looks assassin-y. I can see the assassins now with all the the house climbing.
But it doesn't really... I don't feel like Assassin's Creed owns this anymore. Like,
No.
Assassin's Creed started this gameplay and has refined it. But I feel like it doesn't really make sense to say, oh, it's Assassin's Creed because you climb on a building.
No, but I can see where people would make that kind of resemblance. But yeah, of course, that's, it's something that's in regular. You saw that in Thief. It's the same kind of thing that was in Thief. Anything that really has any kind of sneak value to it is going to have this kind of gameplay now.
Now, I have not heard anyone else say this, but I'm going to say this, and I said it before, and I don't think we actually finished this thought because, while so many things are happening, this is Destiny to me. This feels a lot like Destiny to me because in both games the gameplay is great, but you really got to find your own fun. You're running around choosing to do whatever you want to do, and there's much less I feel like to do in Destiny, or at least you're doing the same thing over and over and over again in Destiny. In this game, you are basically constantly deciding how you want to take down these orc captains and running around and doing it. And you could just go in and swing your blade. Sometimes I've been able to go to a location and then there's a beast there in a cage and I just shoot the lock off. And the beast comes out and boom, he's going to take on half the people for me. There have been times where I've just stood back and flung arrows at somebody. There are times when I have actually gone in and done like actual combat, but I'm just as likely to hang off the side of a tall building, wait for someone to go underneath me, and then just do like a stealth attack on them, and that will also take them out. And yeah, I mean, you are just given this whole open world.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of like Far Cry.
Yeah,
in a
that's
sense,
what I was thinking too.
Because you never know, like, okay, it's an open world, Far Cry's an open world, but you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You're never totally sure what's going to happen in a situation, because there's this one time I rolled up on this one orc captain. I'm just like, okay, well, here you are by yourself, and when they're by themselves, they're very easy. Even, like, the war chiefs are super easy to take on one-on-one. But when you get a bunch of them together, then it becomes really hard.
Yeah.
Their strength is their numbers. You are by far the superior fighter.
Okay.
But you have to be sneaky, and you have to... And I always shoot those things because sometimes it makes them run away, and I never know exactly when, but I just do it just to be safe.
Now you say you're the superior fighter. Is that before leveling up as well?
Oh, from the very beginning, you are far better than any of these guys.
Okay.
Now, you do level up, and that helps you with different things. You unlock, for example, I unlocked the ability to make every campfire that I shot with an arrow magically explode.
Oh, that's fun.
And then you can do another one, like that guy, for example, I just shot. I just stood up on the roof and shot him with arrows.
Good for you.
But watch this, because something weird is going to happen in a second. And I remember this moment specifically because this is like the really cool part of the game. This game, you never know exactly what's going to happen. You are put in this open world and you're told go and try and take care of these guys, and things are going to happen. And I'm just waiting for it to happen, and there we go. Yeah, another captain just rolled up on me.
Oh, what a jerk.
So I've actually had this happen to me to the point where I had like 4 captains at once.
Really?
Yeah, but this is his mistake. He's by himself. He saw me. He came after me. But I'm a much better fighter than any of these orcs. They don't really... Well, for the most part, they don't really stand a chance. There are a couple of orcs that really do not take melee damage. Like, they'll always be able to block your melee damage. So those guys you have to do stealth assassinations on from rooftops or shoot with arrows, stuff like that. But for the most part, yeah, dude, you just stab him with a knife a lot and then he goes down.
Does your character have any magical abilities? Or is he just strictly combat?
He can read...
Other than this weird head thing.
He can do this weird head thing, so yes.
Okay.
He has magical abilities. He's able to jump down from like a 3-story tower made of light and not have a damaged bone.
Nice.
Dude has magical abilities.
That is some hardcore parkour.
So we're looking at stuff like the list of
He's handsome.
here are the strengths and weaknesses of orcs. You have to actually track down specific orcs to get that much information. Any orc can be tracked down and will give you, say, the name. But there are special orcs that will give you higher level information on the orc captains. You gotta track those guys down in the open world.
Was all that information just on that one guy?
Yeah.
That is a lot of information.
Well,
I was impressed with it, just how detailed all of the bad guys seem to be. But I mean, if they're putting all that information on it, my goodness, that's a lot of detail.
And that is definitely where the focus went. They made this open world, and they made a handful of story missions. I will be honest, at this point I have not completed the story missions, but there are not that many that I've been told. So
how are they? Are they like boring? Are they?
They're okay. Yeah. They're okay. They don't really give you much.
Yeah.
Golem, I think his name's Golem, shows up.
Yeah.
The my precious guy.
Gollum. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Shows up, and he gives you some stories. And then, like, you find another guy who's a ranger. He gives you some stories, and, you know, nothing great. But that's not the focus of the game. This game is very entertaining without that, because you're going around and you're making your own fun by choosing what you want to do.
Cool.
They basically say, okay, you got to take down these war chiefs. They never once tell you how.
I guess you get to decide yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the thing is that they will give you a list of things that will not affect this guy. Like, this orc will not take fire damage, or this orc is afraid of wild animals. You know, they'll say, hey, here are the strengths and here are the weaknesses, but they'll never tell you how to go and take someone down. And then you add in the fact that it's a big open world, and guys are just rolling up on you, and these guys are afraid, so they're running away. And like, there's a captain right there. There is a
the red arc.
The red arc is the health bar of a captain.
Oh, okay.
And only captains have that. So there are captains all over this world, and they will run up like right on top of you, and you will never notice. That's part of why I called this sort of Far Cry, because Far Cry 4 was great. No, was it 3 or was it 4? Which
3.
one had Foss? Okay, Far Cry 3 was great because it was just this open world, and you'll be stalking around and random things will happen. Same thing in Shadows of Mordor.
Okay.
Dude will just be walking around, and like, we'll get run up by 4 orc captains at one time, and you're sitting there going, well, what the heck, and how the heck did this happen? Where did all these guys come from? They just come out of nowhere. And that's like the fun of the game, is that you were just released in this open world, and it's giving you objectives but no real structure.
Yeah.
And you're just picking your own fun, and it really is entertaining.
That was definitely an entertaining part of Far Cry 3, was being able to go at a camp a different way every time. Like if you got killed one way, you would try and unleash a bear, or you would try and do something else. You'd just see which one worked better for you, or which one was kind of silly.
And every time you die, you come back to one of these castles, and you can just start the mission again.
Okay.
And the orcs will actually remember you. If they killed you, they'll say, "Oh, back again for more punishment," or something like that.
Oh, look at them, saucy orcs.
Well, actually, the funny thing is that you made a comment about detail. The detail is really in the number of orcs, the stuff they say, the voice actors.
Really?
Although, I mean, I do not know, like, I'm not totally sure how many, like, orc voice actors there are. Because they all just sound like evil Cockney British guys to me.
Of course.
And I'm not totally sure exactly where modern media decided that evil orcs all sound like they have these Cockney accents.
That went on for ages.
But that apparently is a thing. And it's really hard to distinguish one from the other. So for as much as I know, it's all one dude. As like I was just sitting there, and this orc captain had a fight with a big monster, was getting his butt kicked and ran off. I didn't even do anything there. I wasn't even involved in that.
The game played itself.
Yeah, exactly. The game does all this stuff by itself. And that's really cool. This world is happening around you as you're doing all these things, and that's really cool. The surprising thing to me, and I can't confirm this because I don't have a copy, but I hear that the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 versions, the last generation versions, don't have this Nemesis system in it.
Oh, really?
And if they don't have this Nemesis system in it, that game must be horrible.
Yeah.
It is... The Lord of the Rings trappings do not matter. I'm going to bow a guy again. I really like the bow. Kind of hard to aim, though.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure there's probably an upgrade. So I could have fought all his dudes, but I took 2 shots and he's down. That was a low-level guy. He was only power level 4. So he's like probably the most rookie captain they have. And that's what makes this game great, is that all this stuff just starts happening and it all feels so natural. And then you're given this Nemesis system and told to like just accomplish this stuff. Here are the guys you gotta take down, and they release you in the world, and as you're doing stuff, all sorts of random things happen. Captains roll up on you. They are fighting other beasts and getting scared and running away. They're fighting each other. It's a crazy world. And you're just in the middle of it.
It all seems really fluid too, which is nice. You know, the transition from when you're shooting and killing people, and then you're sucking that guy's head or whatever it is that you're doing, and you know, that's good.